Hi, I'm Scott Orr, and I'm the host of Other Record Labels, the podcast where we talk with indie record labels and we talk about the culture of running an indie record label. But more specifically today, we're talking about how to start a record label. And we're actually talking about, do you need a contract? That is a really stressful question. And it's something that a lot of people, it's a lot of emails that I get, and we're actually going to be doing a special legal episode on our podcast. So if you're not following the podcast, go to otherrecordlabels.com to make sure you follow the podcast. But today I want to just go over the basics. This is just my opinion. And listen, look at me. Do I look like a lawyer? I'm not a lawyer. But this is just from my own experiences. This is not legal advice. Okay. So please hang up the phone right now and or shut this video off and go call a lawyer. But this is my advice, because a lot of people ask me, do I need a lawyer? Do I need what type of contracts do I need? I just want to outline what has worked for me and what has worked for some of the labels that I've talked to. Now, you can get this tip and all of the tips from this series on how to start a record label at otherrecordlabels.com/checklist. So the first thing is there's a legal agreement and then there's a handshake agreement. So when I was getting started, I Googled and I found a contract that was pretty robust. It was a record label contract. I don't know where it was. I ended up tweaking things, removing things I thought wasn't relevant. Was the document a sound legal document? Probably not. I mean, if somebody wanted to hire a lawyer and get themselves out of it, they totally could. It probably wasn't a sound legal document. I realized early on, and this is where a legal document versus a handshake agreement, I realized early on that creating this like legal 5-page document in this artistic community was creating some sort of tension. It was creating some sort of formality that wasn't necessary. And so I shifted everything over to being a handshake agreement, to being basically, I would outline what I can do as a label. I would outline how long the term is going to be, how long that our agreement will be for, and I would outline some of the financials, like how much money we're possibly going to spend on promoting your release, and then your cut of the profit. So net expense, net after the expenses. So not your gross sales, but after you take away the expenses and everything, what that split's going to be. So I shifted early on to removing the legal agreement because I found them to be a little bit stressful, and they already put a bit of a strain on the relationship right from the very beginning, because we would sit down and go over these details, and I'm not a lawyer, and so the document probably didn't even matter in the beginning. But a lot of people want to have a contract because what if that band explodes? And what if that band then gets signed by a major label and you're left with nothing? Well, that's a decision I personally made, and I thought that, and this has happened, where if a band got big and got signed, I didn't feel like I needed to be bought out. I didn't feel like I wanted to own the artist. It just wasn't something that, was important to me. And so I just made it not really a part of it. And then when one of our, and this has happened twice now, when one of our artists have gotten signed a bigger label, they weren't tied to me, and we celebrated their graduation to a bigger label, and we're still friends. And I promote their music, and in turn they promote my label, and I have sales from artists who have moved on to other labels, and because they've gone on to a bigger label. And so talk openly with the artist beforehand. Let's get it all out in the open. And one thing I'll give a piece of advice is if you are not going to do a legal agreement, then use and save an email thread outlining all of your agreements. So be really open with the artist, but not just in person or on the phone. Do it over email and saying, here are the things that I can do for you as a label. Here are the financial breakdowns. Here is, maybe I would like to have the rights to promote your record and to sell your record for 5 years or 10 years or 50 years. Probably not that, but I do 5 years. And this is the agreement. And I also put this clause in, and you can disagree with this if you want, but I put this clause in that says, listen, if you're not happy, then let's just call it a day. Like, let's just break up. I'm not going to try to hold you here for a contract. That's just going to make like a really bad relationship. And I would much prefer to be a label that is generous and is kind and is working with people that want to work with me. I don't want to tie anybody to the label. Think about these things. And the final piece of advice I'll give is if you're not comfortable just thinking about these philosophical things and using email, then consult a lawyer. A lawyer is going to be expensive, but if you want to go that route, then I totally support that. And if money wasn't an issue, I would probably do that too, because, some of our viewers are in a more litigious country than others. And if you're worried about getting sued or getting into trouble or getting ripped off, then go that route and get a lawyer. But I want you to know there's also another route, and this could be a little polarizing, but there is a route where you don't have to use contracts, that you can have an agreement that is written or on email, and you stick to that. And I think that breeds a better relationship. And I think if both people in the relationship are really generous and support and love each other, then it will be beneficial for both, even if they do go on to another label. I've seen it, and it's one of the best business relationships that I have, and I'm grateful that we went in that direction. I hope you found this helpful, and if you disagree with this, then skip over this episode. But you can get this and some maybe more practical tips at our website, otherrecordlabels.com/checklist. Thanks for watching.